Welcome back into that Sean podcast. I am the Big Ush. He is the Cat Daddy. And just like a lullaby, we're in that real, just quiet grace period right before the draft. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Who is ready to talk about some USFL highlights? Right, we saw some camera angles. We saw... I think so. I mean, they scored like a touchdown at least this weekend.
I don't even
but
know.
Who am I kidding?
Paying attention, I'm going to be honest with you.
Nope, neither did I. Don't worry, you weren't the only one because I was focusing on the draft because this
Didn't
week...
Terrell Owens play?
Did who?
Terrell Owens? Didn't Terrell Owens play?
He did. He got a touchdown if I recall.
Hey, T.O.
Good for him.
Look that up.
Good for him. But this week, the past 2 weeks, have really been the calm heading into the storm known as the NFL draft. So we have just a little bit more than a week until the draft takes place. We're beginning to see some smaller moves by teams, so that may or may not affect draft strategy. But we all know the attention is getting focused on Dallas for the draft. And I don't know about you, but I am ready for it. I want to end all these debates about who we should pick, who should be available, who is a good bargain. And I just want to argue who did better.
Fair enough. Also, so this week, how do I want to jump into this? Let's see, how are we going to jump into this? We'll jump in talking about some cornerbacks. So, 2 cornerbacks got some news. One cornerback got signed by a team. That would be Stephan Gilmore. And, I mean, the deal was not earth-shattering, was it? Cat Daddy.
Sorry, I can't hear you. What was that?
The deal that Gilmore signed, it wasn't earth-shattering, was it?
No. Stephan Gilmore signed. It was a 2-year, $23 million deal, I believe, is what he got. So I like the addition of Gilmore to the Colts. I'm not as big of a fan on that contract. I think it's safe to say the Colts are going all in this season. First, they trade for Yannick Ngakoue, sending Rocky Ya-Sin to the Raiders. Then they trade for Matt Ryan. And now they've signed a veteran cornerback to help solidify the secondary. So while Gilmore is on the wrong side of 30, he still is an upgrade for that Colts defense. And assuming they're all healthy, this Colts defense could be pretty good. But they're paying him $23 over 2 years, which isn't too bad in context when we talk about this next cornerback.
Well, all right, so that being said, before we get to the next one, what is going on with these cornerbacks? Because Gilmore's just, 2 years removed from being the defensive player of the year, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was pretty recent.
Look like things fell off. I know he was injured, but I mean, he's not in like Patrick Peterson territory, is he?
No, I think it's coming off the injury, and I think it's a little bit of the age. I think he's 31 going into this season, and I think that teams, they're careful with the signing. They don't want to see an injury repeat itself, see any risk of it moving forward. So,
all right. Well, next up, we're going to be talking about a big splash that was made. So, Denzel Ward of the Cleveland Browns is now the highest paid corner in the league. That is interesting news. I mean, do you like the deal? What do you think of the deal? Is it worth it? And is he actually the best corner in the league?
So the Browns make Denzel Ward the highest cornerback in NFL history. He just squeaks by Jalen Ramsey with about 100,000 more per year. So it's not as if Denzel Ward had reset the market. I like this deal because Denzel Ward has 4 years of experience and he's only 24 years old. So he has some good experience under his belt. I mean, technically he's going to be 25 next week, but still he's getting this deal in his prime. They signed him to an extension before the Packers could extend Jair Alexander, which is going to end up saving themselves millions of dollars. Why I don't like this deal is because, Well, while Denzel Ward is one of the best cornerbacks in the league, I mean, he's definitely top 10, he is being paid as if he is the best cornerback in the league. Now, Cleveland, with him being so young, it's a gamble. They're paying for potential. They're gambling that he has not already reached his peak performance and that he still has a higher level to play at. So Cleveland is paying for potential. And I don't like the signing because Jair Alexander of the Packers has got to be looking at this deal and seeing a second cornerback signed to a $100 million contract, $20 million per year. And Jair Alexander soon will be the new highest paid cornerback in NFL history when it happens.
Hey, I don't like it either because, I mean, it's a couple years away, but, you know, Trayvon Diggs is seeing the same stuff. So, you know.
Yeah. How soon until we start seeing these cornerbacks get paid like wide receivers? Because wide receivers are commanding so much money. Upwards, I mean, they're approaching $30 million per year, which was previously quarterback territory only.
Right.
But they're approaching 30. How long until these cornerbacks say, you know what? I want to get paid because I'm stopping that guy who's getting paid nearly $30 million.
And with that said, all right, you just said it. The receivers getting paid, the cornerbacks being paid. All right, I'm going to bring up kind of an interesting talking point. I don't know how you feel about this. I feel a little weird about this. First of all, I'm going to say it like this. Anybody getting their money, get your money. I'm not going to sit here and say that someone doesn't deserve money unless their name is Albert Hainsworth. Just saying. Just saying.
Shots fired.
But this next man up nonsense, I don't really like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then again, like, how do you, the big question is, how do you tier this? What is somebody worth to a particular team? What are you betting on when you do it? Like, et cetera, et cetera. The fact that, you know, Christian Kirk got how much he got, and anybody in the league would tell you he's not worth that contract. But the whole thing is, like, even with that, even if you're one of the best out there, just to, like, I mean, this whole concept that's just next man up, oh, because it's my turn, I'm getting the biggest contract. How do you feel about that? Because I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what the right way to do it is, but that doesn't feel like it.
The first thing I want to say is nice job to the agents who are getting this done, right?
Oh, indeed.
Nice job to the agents. The next part, though, goes into salary cap. Because now, if you have a quarterback, I mean, let's take the Chiefs, for example. I think Patrick Mahomes has a cap of about 45, or an average annual of $45 million per year. Tyreek Hill just signed a contract of $28 million, maybe a little bit more than that. So combined, that's $73 million between two players. That's literally a third of your cap space spent on two players. What does that mean for the rest of your roster when you have two guys taking up so much of the cap? Some of that problem could go all the way back to the beginning of the quarterback.
The
quarterbacks command so much of that.
So this is the interesting thing, though. You see teams like Kansas City, Green Bay, Dallas, trading away these players that are commanding such a high cap hit when they have a quarterback that's taking out so much of the cap. And the thought process is these receivers are coming in the league as polished as they are, that they can get a younger guy in, let's say, this draft or the next draft, or they've already done it in previous drafts where these guys are not taking as long to develop, and they can hit the ground running with a stud QB. The problem now is if cornerbacks start commanding this. Cornerback is not a position that you just hit the ground running in the league. You know, like, yeah, there have been some that that have shown it, but cornerback's normally something that develops over time. It's not one where a rookie normally just takes over. And it's how do you parse that with what you're paying a quarterback or any other position on the team, let's say defensive linemen.
It's going to be a trickle-down effect. It's going to be whose contract is up, whose contract is next, who gets that extension first. And that's really it is. Who's the first at the table to get that deal done? And I feel bad for the cap guys who have to worry about this. Because you're thinking, we're talking about like a quarterback at 45, a wide receiver at 28, that's 73 alone. You throw in a top-tier cornerback, they're going to be making close to 20. That's $93 million between 3 players. And then now if you have a stud edge rusher who's going to command 20, if not more, that's $113 million you're committing to 4 players. That's literally half of your salary cap. It's going to cripple teams to the point where they are not going to be signed. They're going to be sitting out there like I'm sure there's some free agents right now who teams are just waiting for them to get desperate enough where they're going to sign that low deal.
And as you say that, and we can move on to that discussion of things. You've got, I believe, Odell Beckham Jr. still out there. You've got Jarvis Landry still out there. You've got, what's his name, who's always out there, Jadeveon Clowney, who's still out there. I mean, there's a couple other guys. I mean, there's guys that are legitimate. JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, still out there, not signed.
Tyrann Mathieu, yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu, yeah. And, I mean, at this point, you got to think that maybe there's, like, some unspoken deals that are done right now. It's like, oh, let's get through the draft, and then after the draft, we'll come talking to you type situation. Because, I mean, these teams got to find out how the draft is going to shake out for them. You're hearing rumblings of Green Bay possibly taking wide receivers in the first 2 rounds, which is really interesting considering Aaron Rodgers doesn't like people. So, hey.
Who does? Who
I'm
does?
just saying, how much did Amari Rodgers actually play with Aaron Rodgers this past year?
It wasn't much.
And that's a 3rd-round pick. I'm sorry. Like, Aaron, get over yourself. I get that you're just all-world studly, but get to know these young players because this is where this is where it's happening. I'm right. You can't even argue with it.
It would be my preference if Aaron Rodgers had spent time with the younger and the rookie wide receivers of the offseason. But it's the offseason. It's his offseason.
Instead of spending time in freaking Hawaii, going to see waterfalls like the whole rest of the world would love to do, you should be doing your job. Hanging out with your girlfriend, doing the naturalized lifestyle, pit hair and all that stuff. Awesome. Hey, you talking to a guy that does not develop much body hair, so I'm good on, too much body hair around me. I got a little treasure, a little tiny sliver of chest hair, and that's it. Just saying.
But I digress. It's my preference that he spends time with these players to build that rapport to better prepare themselves for the season. But he doesn't have to. It's his off season. He can do whatever he wants. Right now, there's the off season programs going on, but they're completely voluntary. They're not required to show up. Not yet.
No. I get you. And let's be honest. Last year he didn't show up to the mandatory stuff, so
exactly, yeah. Different scenario, but he didn't show.
Green Bay had a great, but they still had Devontae Adams. This year they don't have Devontae Adams. They have a dynamic receiver they got in the 3rd round last year that did nothing. And they're most likely going to have a bunch of receivers that they're going to get early on this year. If they do nothing and you go into this season with Randall Cobb. No, Randall Cobb's gone, right? Or is he still there?
No, he's still there.
So if you go into this season with Randall Cobb and is Allen Lazard there?
Yep.
And Allen Lazard. If you go into this season with Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb as your top 2 receivers, that is a travesty. That is, I'm sorry, shameful.
Whoa.
Shameful.
Whoa. You got to pump the brakes here because the Packers finally made a move in free agency two weeks before the draft
yes.
by landing wide receiver Sammy Watkins to a 1-year deal worth up to $4 million. Is it a sexy move? No, it is not.
This is one of my biggest draft misses of all time. Sammy Watkins was supposed to be amazing. He was supposed to be amazing. And for a couple of years there, the potential, some of the stuff he did in Buffalo, he made Darrelle Revis look stupid a bunch of times. But it just, I think, do you think the injuries just took its toll?
I think so. And it's hard to say, did an offense use him to his full ability?
He was
Did
on
they use
Kansas
him
City.
the right way? Okay. I'm sure Andy Reid has some things he'd want to change. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch that a little bit more. But do I think this is a good move for Green Bay?
Yes.
I think it is. It's a low-risk, high-reward signing. It reminds me of the two moves that the Packers made last offseason with getting Devondre Campbell and Rasul Douglas on 1-year contracts. The presence of Watkins will be good for Aaron Rodgers. It sounds like Aaron Rodgers wanted Sammy Watkins in Green Bay. And it's going to be good for the pass catchers, the rookie pass catchers, plural, to be around Sammy Watkins as a veteran. And speaking of the draft, I don't think this changes Green Bay's draft strategy at all.
Why would a 30-year-old receiver change your draft strategy?
No, I still expect them to draft 3+ pass catchers between wide receivers and tight ends throughout the draft. I mean, after all, Sammy Watkins is only signed to a 1-year deal, and currently he is not a long-term answer, but he has the potential
30, right?
to be a longer-term answer. Let me check on Sammy.
No, I got this. Sammy Watkins, he is 28. 28. So no, he's still got some youth to him. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. That being said, I'm just saying that, I mean, in the essence of the Packers, there's something that needs to change with Aaron Rodgers and his process, in my opinion. That being said, moving on to another quarterback and his process. Apparently, the Arizona Cardinals, the rest of the football players on their team, are siding with Kyler Murray. And none of them are going to show up to, like, team activities. Well, then.
Well, that's certainly a plot twist. I hadn't heard that none of the players I didn't hear more players were going to be opting out.
I'm being dramatic, but there's a good amount of players siding with Kyler Murray on this.
Which is a little bit strange considering that up until this point you hadn't heard anybody on Arizona's team coming to Kyler Murray's defense, and right now it's believed that Kyler Murray will not be playing under his existing contract and would only play with an extension. He's not expected to participate in the Cardinals offseason programs. Sound like a couple other players are backing him, but this is completely voluntary still for the players.
Yes.
The Cardinals have yet to make an extension offer to Murray. Murray's agent has pulled their offer off of the table. Arizona says they're not trading Kyler Murray. But I guess one of the questions I have for you is, could Arizona trade Kyler Murray?
They could. Depends on to who and for what.
If I were one of the NFC South teams, not named Tampa Bay, I would be blowing up Steve Keim's phone right now. Because, so if you were Arizona, which 2022 draft compensation is the most appealing for
Carolina.
a starting point? Carolina could offer the 6. Atlanta could offer the 8.
Carolina.
New Orleans could offer 16 and 19. And that's what I was thinking too. Like, New Orleans sounds tempting with the 16 and 19
honestly,
two first-round
if I'm
picks.
New Orleans, I'm not offering this.
But they have really nothing to throw on top of that because they already gave next year's first to Philly, and they gave the following year's second to
if
Philly.
I'm New Orleans, I'm not
they don't have
offering
much
this.
firepower.
Jamie's actually started looking pretty darn good for them before the injury. If you get more talent on this team, let's say a Trevor Penning, and then maybe let's say Garrett Wilson or Drake London. You know something? This New Orleans team could look a lot different with Jamies back there. So I'm riding with Jamies. Unfortunately, Carolina, I'm not riding with nobody in this this franchise. I get it. They traded for Sam Darnold. That's a bust. They have Cam Newton hanging around. Bust. And then, they could get a rookie QB. Well, you know something? Kyler has proven to be pretty decent in this league. Now, note, I'm not as high on Kyler as other people are. That's part of the problem here.
I think trade package purposes, starting point, Carolina's number 6 is the most appealing.
It is.
Is it something that Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer, David Tepper could pull the trigger on, considering that they are so desperate for quarterback? Bridgewater in 20. They brought in Sam Darnold in 21. They already know he's not the answer. Could they draft a rookie quarterback? It's a risky move at number 6. Their next pick isn't until round 4, I think, with all the trades they made. So, a tough position. Do you draft one at 6? You're hoping you can trade back, but if you have an opportunity to obtain...
This is a sad situation because I think with Carolina, the writing's on the wall. These are dead man walking.
Just so we're on the same page, specifically who? Who are we talking about?
Carolina, all of them.
Matt Rule?
Matt Rule, David Tepper. Yes, all of them. They've done absolutely nothing to vote confidence, to show any type of improvement. Like, what are you happy about of what they've done? What exactly have they done that you are happy about in this franchise?
Not that I'm happy, they made the attempt to improve the quarterback position. They obtained, they signed Teddy Bridgewater. Right, they're making the attempt. It's just they're making the wrong attempts, and that leads to the negative. Exactly.
Bad move after bad
that
move
leads
does not
to the
inspire
negative
confidence. There's only one thing
but
you
it
can
started
say.
with good.
There's only one thing you can say that they've done that could even inspire any type of positivity, we'll say.
Is that not trading Christian McCaffrey already? Is that drafting Brian Burns and that solid young defense? What do you got?
They've sort of tried that, and we'll have to see how it goes to improve their secondary. And Brian Burns. That's it.
Well, they traded for Stephan Gilmore only to let him walk in free agency.
Right. But they've had C.J. Henderson, J.C. Horn.
Well, C.J. Henderson's a former number 9 pick. He hasn't played up to that number 9 draft status so far.
Yeah, but, he was on Jacksonville.
Come
on. So he's still a former number 9 pick who is still developing. Last year was just his second year in the league.
Okay, but let's go back to Stephan Gilmore real quick. Why trade for Gilmore and then just let him go? Is it because you feel that good about J.C. Horn and C.J. Henderson?
And who was the other corner that was supposed to be there? Did he walk too? Didn't they have another young guy? And maybe they do feel better about these two. I don't know. Is it Dante Jackson?
There we go. Is he still there? Sign somewhere.
Dante Jackson he's still in Carolina. So he re-signed with them. So yeah, they've got Dante Jackson, J.C. Horn, and C.J. Henderson. I mean, that's a good group. And then you've got what's his name, the hybrid player, Jimmy Chin.
Okay. So Stephan Gilmore is another example of a swing and a miss on a transaction, on a move.
True, making my point.
Well, my point started positive in that they were making moves to get better. Their moves just ended up blowing up in their face and not panning out for them, which
right.
is that better or worse than doing nothing?
It depends on what that nothing is. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Some of these moves, I think, were almost notably obvious to be either lateral or bad moves. The QB position. Why trade for Sam Darnold and get rid of Teddy Bridgewater? Like, why give up assets and money? Money, I mind you, to trade a guy who feels mediocre, and then trade it for a guy who the rest of the league feels is mediocre.
I know last year I was doing my best to defend Sam Darnold, if I remember correctly.
Both of us were.
Because he was still so young. He'd been in the league for 3 years. We kind of gave a little bit of grace because he was with the Jets, and that organization was just a dumpster fire. We gave some grace there. He gets traded to Carolina. We're thinking a fresh start. The first three-plus games of last year, it was like, hey, Sam Darnold turned things around. He actually could be what everybody expected him to be. But then moving forward, right, is that on Sam Darnold or is that on Matt Rule as a coach? Because when Carolina came out, their second half was horrible, just like every game.
Here's the other part. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to say this. I think Sam Darnold at this point in his career can, unless something drastic change, he's going to be David Carr.
High draft pick, lots of potential, just failed. Whether it's him, organization.
Probably in the league for a long time. Solid, great backup because he's going to be a veteran with a lot of knowledge in the league, a lot of knowledge how to deal with certain situations, and good in a pinch if you need him. You know, he's going to be a David Carr. I don't know who else could be put in. David Carr is my best example of that.
I think it's a fair comparison.
You know, I mean, in essence, what would I do if I was Carolina? If this is swinging for the fences right here and now, yeah, I might trade for Kyler Murray. It's either trading for Kyler Murray or drafting the best quarterback with the biggest upside in this draft. The thing is, I don't think they want a quarterback like Kyler Murray, and I don't think they want the quarterback with the biggest upside in this draft. I think they're idiots, and I think they're going to screw this up by drafting Kenny Pickett.
Which we're going to go ahead and plug our next episode, so feel free to come back and listen to our conversation about where we rank the quarterbacks ahead of this draft. All right. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Just to push this along a little bit, because we got a little long in the tooth there. All right, so we got two quarterbacks to talk about, one that's happy, one that's not. First, David Carr gets his extension. Good for him. You know something good that means he's wanted, because this is Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is gonna have his show there, and the fact that he's not shipping the quarterback out right away means big things for the LA Raiders. Not to mention Derek Carr showed a lot of grit, showed that he can play. He actually is a dude who can play in this league last year with everything the Raiders went through. I am very happy for him.
Yeah, I'm happy for Derek Carr. He gets to stay in Las Vegas. This really answers the question about his future, which is good. I thought he was always a good fit for the Raiders. I really can't see him playing for any other team. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the money he got, though. It ended up being $121.5 million over 3 years, so average annuals a little bit over 40. Is he worth that amount?
There's a question, is he worth that amount to the Raiders?
To the Raiders, he is. I think it's more than just production on the field. I think it's his impact in the locker room and holding that team together. he's
And
he's not an average quarterback. He's an above average quarterback.
And his buddy wanted to come play with him.
He did. They were able to get Davante Adams. I don't know if they would have gotten him if Adams knew Derek Carr wouldn't be there for very long.
No way.
So I am very curious to see the contract details, to see what the out looks like for the Raiders, kind of where that money breakdown is as far as guaranteed and when they can get rid of him if it comes down to it. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of how quickly this extension was signed, considering he hasn't played a snap in Josh McDaniel's system yet.
McDaniel likes him.
He does. On paper, he's got all the weapons to be very successful. His career best is really looking into these next couple of years. He's got Davante Adams, he's got Darren Waller, he's got Hunter Renfrow, he's got running back Josh Jacobs. Like, the weapons are there. They just need to surround them with an offensive line where the previous regime swung and missed.
Yep. All right, next up, Baker Mayfield. I'm not going to stick on Baker too long. One, does Baker have a right to feel upset? Yes, he does. Does Baker have to, number two, though, does Baker have to deal with being upset? Yes, he does. Three, why has there not been a Baker trade? Because I think teams are waiting for the draft. I think if there is going to be a Baker trade, it's probably going to happen either early on after the draft or right before the trade deadline. One of those two. It's not going to happen, but I think guys like Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo, if they will be traded, it's not going to happen until after this draft. It was never going to happen until after the draft.
I agree with the first 2 points. I think Baker is an adult. He needs to manage those emotions. The NFL is a business. They did him wrong. That's on the organization. I don't see what's coming out publicly and talking about the disrespect. We all know he was disrespected. We all knew it. He didn't need to come out and say it. I think it's because
everybody out there believes that Baker is this just prick of a person who, brought this upon himself. And I don't agree with that. Maybe he is a prick of a person. I heard that he's actually not that bad of a guy. But I don't think he brought this upon himself. He did the best he could last year being injured. And, something, the team's doing what they want to do. That's their choice.
Yeah. I do think Baker gets moved. I think what's holding it up is that Cleveland has absolutely no leverage.
Well, there's leverage, and then there's on top of that, I think teams are honestly at this point looking to see what they get from the draft. I honestly believe teams are going to be like, okay, let's see what this draft brings us. And if we can get a developmental quarterback from this draft, let's see how that goes. Or, if it turns out we need to trade for a Baker Mayfield, we'll trade for a Baker Mayfield. You know what I'm saying? I think teams are going to come out of this draft and see how they feel about their future, and it's going to be picks from next year's draft that Cleveland will get, if any.
Same with San Francisco and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And maybe, hopefully, the same with Green Bay and Jordan Love.
No, it's not happening. Stop hoping for that. Man. Green Bay is not trading him. They like him.
Sure.
No, this is what I hear out of your guys' camp, not what I hear from just my opinion. You know this. I hear the coaching staff in Green Bay likes Jordan Love. It's just, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
Sure is.
All right, anything else that you want to add for this episode?
Let's see. We have some 2019 wide receiver drama.
What was that?
We have wide receivers such as Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, planning to either skip the offseason program entirely or at least not participate in the on-field work.
I hate this.
Keep in mind it's all voluntary, but They all want bigger contracts. Rumors
I get
are
it.
surrounding Deebo Samuel wanting $25 million per year or to be traded.
I get it, but look what happens to a lot of players when they do nonsense like this. Des Bryant did it, he got injured, and his career was shortened. Demaryius Thomas, same year as Des Bryant did it, he got injured, career was shortened. Le'Veon Bell did it, he came back, was never the same guy. It's just, when players do this nonsense, players who are not quarterbacks do this nonsense, they miss out on the conditioning, they miss out on, and then they're not working out to the greatest on their, they might think they are, but it's not the same thing, and they come back, they're not ready to play, and they get injured. I'm sorry, the skipping organized team stuff, I think it's nonsense. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense why they do it, because it really doesn't help them. Now, note, if you want to tell teams, okay, I'm going to show up every day, I'm going to do my work every day, when game time comes, I ain't playing, that's different. But to sit here and be like, I'm skipping this, I'm skipping that, get a kick. Come on, please.
I know. In their defense, just briefly, in their defense, it is voluntary. But the part that frustrates me the most is these guys are under contract.
Right. But
this is still your rookie deal.
You get what I'm saying? More times than not, history has shown that when players do this, they get injured and it shortens their careers.
And it drastically hurts that earning potential.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
we're Terrell Owens. Not everybody's built like a monster and can come back from a freaking broken leg and be awesome. Or can play in some supplemental league at 40-something years old and score touchdowns.
Score touchdowns, yes.
Stop being out here thinking you're Terrell Owens. You're not. That dude was grown in a lab.
And you know what the funny thing is of all of this with these players? You're thinking Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown. I mean, you can probably throw DK Metcalf in that conversation too. The funny thing is, these wide receivers seeking these big contract extensions were not selected in the first rounds.
True. But do you know the other funny thing?
What's that?
Deebo and A.J. Brown in particular have been shown to be injury prone. McLaurin, not so much at the moment. But
that's why they want to get their money while they still can.
Just saying. And it's not like, Tennessee and San Francisco weren't still looking for wide receivers with these two on their team. Just saying.
Yeah.
So it's just like, watch yourself, Terry McLaurin. Watch yourself, Deebo. Y'all can end up on the trade market.
Well, Terry McLaurin, I mean, good on him. He is showing up to the off-season program. He's just not going to participate in the workouts. The other players are skipping the entire off-season program. They're not attending. They're not there for any part of it. They're just absent. So at least Terry McLaurin's showing up. That's something better.
All
right. And then, did you want to talk about draft rumors?
No.
No?
We can save that for next week. Next week is the draft, so we can give them all that,
All right. So we'll just throw that as a teaser that we're gonna have some draft rumors next week.
Yes. All right.
So
that's all she wrote for this week. My words of wisdom: think before you leap. You never know how something is going to affect. Use common sense. Do not act emotionally. Think before you leap. Any words of wisdom, Cat Daddy?
File your taxes if you haven't already. Yesterday, Monday, was the tax filing deadline, so.
I did mine.
Government needs theirs. I did mine. Yeah. Did federal. I did 2 state returns. That was fun.